So before we start the end of your updates, Becky, do you want to add anything? I kind of jumped right in on that.
No, just happy to have everyone with us. We have kind of a record number of people registered today, so that's exciting, especially in the situation that we're in. Hope that this finds you all safe and healthy at home as Team Kentucky deals with this COVID virus that we're all experiencing. Um, your Team KDE presenters are in their home offices today, so just like many of you, we may have children, spouses, pets, other things that you might hear in the background. So we just hope you'll bear with us as we try to present this information to you today. And as Dee Dee has said, we may provide you with a little bit of comic relief when you hear some of the things going on in our homes. So with that, we hope you have a great session today.
All right, so we're going to start going through the KDE update topics. We can call these shorts because they're really short updates. A lot of them are reminders, and we'll go through them I'll go through them very quickly. There's a couple things that might be new to you, so if they are, again, use Go Soapbox to put any questions in there. If we can't get to it, I think I've got another 25 minutes or so to go through about 30 slides. So you all know I talk fast if you've heard me before. But again, if something's unclear, please, I've got folks that are helping watch the Soapbox, and I'm kind of watching it too. So we'll answer questions as we can and then get back to the others. So most of you should know by now that there will be limited assessment data this year. We did complete testing for K-Screen, and the access testing for English learner students is complete. ACT, all but 3 schools did the first round of testing. That doesn't mean every student in those schools got tested. So there are some makeup testing dates that have been announced to DACS. Those are late September through about middle of October for either the new test dates and the accommodation dates and a makeup date. So your DACs are aware of that, and we'll plan accordingly. When we put the assessment data out on the school report card, we will not have ACT as we go live with the first release. We are, however, expecting to go out with with the ACT data later in the year, maybe December timeframe, if we've got it all together. And all this is really dependent on the fact that does school start back as normal in the fall or not? And I don't think any of us really know the answer to that at this point. The other assessments, accountability, was all waived for 2020, so we won't have any of that reporting this year. I do want to make sure, and this information has gone out from a number of different sources, but there is a new COVID-19 resource page off the KDE website. You can link to the KDE COVID-19 resource page from the banner on top of all of our web pages. And it's really a place that you can go to get information. On any questions. There's Q&As out there, things like that that might be helpful. So I just want to make sure that all of you are aware of that new page also. So if you haven't already, please check it out. We do have some new campus resources, and we want to thank the Infinite Campus folks. I mean, they've kind of just risen to the challenges of, if they hear something feel like, is needed, they've really tried to jump in and provide us some resources that would help. One of the items is the distance learning participation and attendance module. There's a soapbox question out there, a survey question. So if you can go out and answer that, that would be great. Just to give us some feedback. It does track student participation in Infinite Campus. It is optional. The NTI folks aren't saying this is required in any way, so I don't want you to leave here and say they told me it's required. I will say we're getting great feedback from the few schools that are using it. There's not a lot of schools that opted to change their process for managing that mid-year, but NTI was new to some districts. So for those, it made sense to go ahead and implement a solution. There are links to short videos that can help you review what's possible, and also help you share that information with the administrators in your schools to determine if this would be a better way of tracking both student and teacher participation on the NTI. You get a daily assignment that's created in the teacher's gradebook, and there's a couple of options available to you, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all. there's options available to you for how you would use it in your district. So please take time to go to the survey question. I am looking right now at about most of you, not most of you, 60% of you say you prefer to track manually outside of campus. There's about 14% of you that say you're using for NTI now and will continue to use it going forward. And there's about 30% of you that say you want more information. And we know that this is a feature that KDE doesn't use, but districts are using. So we might reach out to some of our districts that have had great success on it and see if they could share some information with you on how it's being used in their districts. So keep answering that question as we go forward. We will share the outcome of that in the Q&A document. And the other thing that Infinite Campus offered was some changes to the pass-fail grading. And this really provides some information on questions that you need to consider before making the decision to go to pass-fail. What we don't want to see is pass-fail, especially the high school level, for a full year as being your final grade, because that does impact keys. But there's ways to do it and be not impact. So take a look at those. If you have any indications this may be a decision that's already been made, and it's information that you've already gotten and are comfortable with. So just wanted to continue to mention it for those that might have missed it earlier. The District and School Collection Repository, DASR, is where we ask schools and districts to go and add new schools or update school information or close a school. So we typically work with WAPOCs, but sometimes WAPOCs give others access to the system to update that information. So if you've got schools that have changed locations, if you've got new schools or schools that are closing at the end of the year, don't forget to update in DASR system. Typically, there's an annual verification each spring. So Rodney Bennett is the contact on that. And as that goes out, you'll get more information. Data security and privacy. Really, we've tried to update our data security and privacy pages. We've really focused on the data privacy pages first. We took resources that we felt were good resources. We didn't reinvent the wheel on creating a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, we just don't have that level of capacity. But we put some resources out there for the data privacy for parents, and also another page for data privacy for schools and districts. And we hope you'll find that's helpful for you, even if you're referring other folks to that. If you get questions and say, well, I know KDE has a page that you can go to, or if you want to add our links onto your pages so that you don't have to try to maintain the same type of information locally. The other thing is that I just wanted to mention yesterday, I got the U.S. Department of Education's annual FERPA notice to superintendents. It's something that comes out to the state school chiefs as well as superintendents every year, and it's reminders about FERPA and reminders about the protection of pupil rights, the PPRA requirements. They included a few additional resources that I think we've sent most of those resources out in newsletters or something else too, but we want to make sure you're aware of that. It does bring up some good points as far as making sure you review your FERPA and PPRA notice in respect to what you're doing in the COVID-19 environment. Does it reflect, is there needs to change it or update it? And if there are, to be working on those changes. And it also encourages schools and districts to post those notices on their local websites. So if you've not seen that, it is posted on our school page. So take a look and you can get the actual letter that was sent out. We do have some updates from the dual credit and KTS data exchange. We're really trying to make sure that information is transferring as it should. Work with, as far as any of these KTS slides, really the fact that we're really working as a partnership between the CTE Center or the ATC Center and the school is critical as far as scheduling, making sure that the courses, if they're dual credit, they're marked dual credit on both systems, and update these dual credit cores per the dual credit data standard, because that's important. We use that data for school report card reporting, those, it impacts keys reporting. There's a lot of things this dual credit data is used for. So making sure that it's correct is going to ensure your students get the credit they deserve for it, as well as your school's information showing correctly on federal and state reporting. There are some end-of-year resources that KDE puts out. This information's out on our website, but also wanted to remind you here the state reporting deadlines. These are all hyperlinks, so you've got the actual PowerPoint presentation, so you can click on them. The quick state reporting, the quick reference guide, ad hocs that can use, and really an end-of-year checklist. But as you look through these things, really think about, is there time now? And you only are the ones that can answer that. I can't say that there is time, but find time or find help to be able to look at some of the quality assurance actual reports to make sure the data that comes due at the end of the year is accurate, and you won't have a lot of time spent at that point trying to figure out why it's not reporting correctly. You've already gotten past that. So anything you can do to prepare is always a good thing. But I know that also there's a lot going on right now. There is some e-transcript training. Hopefully your counselor's got this information directly. However, if you're not sure, or you've got a new counselor, or you're not using the e-transcript process at the high school for some reason, please share this information with them. Parchment does provide this training. There was one that was done, I think, yesterday. So it may be that you find some of yours has already actually participated in training. But it's important, especially with students not being on campus. These seniors need to know that they need to change their email account in Parchment, because if they don't change it and all of a sudden their school email account has been used and it's closed, they won't be able to get back into their Parchment account. So communication is always important, but this is just one more thing to remember to include in the emails to the seniors, or the messaging to the seniors, however you do that. Seniors have until July 30th to order the final transcripts for free. After July 30th, there is a cost, and we don't subsidize that any longer. So check out the KSIS newsletter for more transcript reminders. It just went out. So you should be able to look at that soon. I can't remember if it was in this one that's going out this week or the one that went out last month. And Linda, you may know, when you can put something in the soapbox if you'd like. Other things on e-transcript, we are looking to renew the contract. We've got another year on this contract. It's not something that's going to happen immediately, but we're always asking for feedback. Providing any feedback, or sorry, I went the wrong way. Providing any feedback you'd like to provide on e-transcripts. You can email us through the KDE data request email account, or reach out to me or Kim Walters on that. Another reminder, data quality graduation, Gcodes must be entered by June 30th. So make sure your students that are graduating do have a Gcode. Don't submit Gcodes for students that have graduated kindergarten or graduated middle or elementary school. Those are really cute, but they're not Gcodes. So keep in mind that the Gcode, the diploma date, diploma type must be on there for the graduates, and also for e-transcripts, because post-secondary schools aren't going to consider them graduated unless they see all the fields completed on their final transcript. Enrollment invalid. There's some validation reports you can use. The enrollment end status validation report can be used to confirm all high school students' enrollments have an end date status. You've got Gcode validation reports that show information on students and Gcodes and gives you some error codes in there as needed to help you work through any outstanding data quality issues you have. So those reports will help you find helpful as you work through that. Infinite Campus invoices were mailed out April 17th to districts' points of contacts. They must be paid by August 15th. You think, why did they mail them out so early? Well, we do that specifically, and Infinite Campus works with us to do this, so that if you want to pay them in the current year, meaning this year, you have money left over, you'd like to go ahead and get the payment, you can. If you prefer, you always pay after the new year starts, that's fine too. It just gives you options. If you don't find, you get your Infinite Campus invoices, we do have copies, and you can request those through the KDE data request at education.ky.gov email. Those do go out to typically the finance points of contact. So just help us by verifying with the finance director that they did get their invoice, and they will have it to pay when they're ready to, of course, by the August 15th deadline. Interoperability within campus. One of the things is interoperability is a big buzzword these days, and a lot of you are, well into interoperability. You're using campus third-party systems like OneRoster, EdFi, things like that to actually integrate data between maybe your LMS system and Infinite Campus, so that you're not entering data multiple times. But if you're seeing that's happening at your school and district, and you're seeing that we're requiring people to do data entry more than one time into different systems, reach out to Lisa Roten, Infinite Campus, see if there isn't a solution that will allow you to do that. If you're thinking about putting an RFP together, really talking to campus on what standards there are already in place, and including that as a component within your RFP really does help, because if you can use a system to provide all your rostering data, where you can use campus functionality and have grades come back into the system from another system. There's solutions for that will make much more, the integration much more helpful than having to either go without that data in one of the systems or have to enter the data in a separate way. All right. KIA did send information out on their grading policies, of course, with the COVID-19 school building closures. There were lots of questions about what do we do about seniors, dual credit, AP, IB, all those different things. So KIA sent out some information, and we have linked it here. It did go out to superintendents a while back, but we want to make sure that you had a link to it also. Went out in a Monday message, so this link actually takes you to that Monday message. If there's still questions about keys, contact KIA. Rebecca Gilpatrick is a great contact. She can be very helpful on this. We don't want anything that we're doing to get through this period of time to negatively affect the Students' Keys Award. So please make sure that is being thought through as you make changes to grading policies or anything else. The KTS data exchange I mentioned earlier, along with the dual credit stuff, it's just make sure there is an open line of communication. Make sure your grade syncs, and the grades are being posted transcripts. This is information that goes out every single year. There's, Tanya Fluke has a lot of links here that are very helpful. So please use this as a resource to help you ensure the high school and the technical school data stays in alignment. This is every year we get a reminder. New employees, use the staff locator. Don't create a new employee without first trying to find them in the staff locator. It's important that those records do transfer, just like a student transfer. We would always tell you to go to the student locator, just like we do staff locator. But it's important because if we have duplicate records for a teacher, we may say that that's a new teacher when it's really not a new teacher as far as our federal and state reporting. So, enter the EPSB data, the number. If you don't know it initially, there are reports that you can run to kind of go back and fill that in as you get the information, but it's important that that EPSB number is there. It's used for some of our state mandatory reporting. So without that there, someone's going to follow back up to you and try to get those completed so that we can meet our reporting requirements. The employment verification report is available to assist with this information. So People Role Manager is another system that we want to make sure you are aware of. And if you look at our open house website at education.ky.gov, you'll see that this little picture here, the school and districts, that's an online school and district directory. People use that to find out how to contact you. Some of that information does come from DASR, your school address, your phone numbers, those type of things comes from DASR. But the People Role Manager, who your contacts are at the school and the district level, come from People Role Manager. So as people leave or as people renew, please make sure that those are getting up to date. Work with your WAPOC. If you don't know who your WAPOC is, go out to the school and district website and look at your own directory, and your WAPOC is the last roll at the very bottom, and they'll say who that contact is. This is something that may be new to you. It has been mentioned to superintendents, but I'm not sure how much discussion there has been at the district. My guess is very little, but I may be very wrong on that. There's a new pandemic EBT program. That is an electronic benefit transfer program. It's really a program that is administered by the Cabinet for Health and Family Services as part of their food stamp program. However, it expands food stamps eligibility to include anybody that is receiving free or reduced price school meals during the school year. So what they're doing is they're going to provide benefits out to individuals, and these families need help, and this is another way of providing help. We don't have all the specifics on the application process, but we have learned that the state student ID is needed to apply. Now, some of you, I'll say most of you at the districts, use the state student ID as your local ID. I think all but 4 districts do that. So if you're doing that, you might be using that ID for something else. You may already have in the parent portal that it displays. If you don't, turn that on. That's probably the easiest way to tell folks to get their ID. For instance, if you're a CEP school, every student will need to know their SSID number. Some of them might already be eligible based on the fact that they're already receiving benefits from the Health and Family Services Agency. But if not, they're going to need their SSID, and we're going to be asking local districts to help with disseminating that SSID to families. And for every family, you may have, any number of students, some of which may qualify, some may not. If they're going to a non-CEP school and not income eligible, you may have one student that does qualify and another one that doesn't. So do keep in mind, at this point, there's not a lot more I can say on this one, except for have discussions internally about how you could get that state student ID out to students locally to be able to help them with their application for this program.
Dee Dee, I'll just let you know we've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. So school report card, the 2018-19 financial transparency is delayed to allow districts more time. It'll go out mid-May is about the time it's going to close for schools to enter their data. And with it being, I think the time right now is like the Tuesday after Memorial Day, it's public opening. The rest of the data is going to run, it's going to be limited data this year, but it will run the normal time frame. July will open for the data collector and the safety data. In August, the rest of the data will be open up, and the collector data will still remain open. More than likely, we'll still plan for a late September release. Student transfer, records transfer reminders. Please make sure, I'm going to kind of go through this. Please make sure you're following the guidance in this records transfer data standard. It's important. It's important to do it quickly. The new thing that I don't want to miss here with having limited time is our new requirements, House Bill 312, and I have hyperlinked the House bill here. So if you want to look at it, you can. Requires says the school must immediately enroll the student, a new foster student, and request records from the previous school. The previous school must release records the day the request is received. So, if you get it late in the day, that doesn't leave much time, but according to the new laws, you have to release it. You need to follow the enrollment and student records transfer data standard. It gives you 3 additional days to provide any supplemental data to the school, but it does really turn up the time frame on these foster student records. And talking to some of the legislatures that presented this, they feel like this is a huge problem. The foster care students aren't being served quickly enough. It's important that when they do have to transfer a foster student to a new school, that they get this information as quickly as possible. We'll start transitioning now. This teacher data, again, this is a new report. This information's gone out before, but be aware of this report. There's a quick reference card in this detail to give you more information on the teacher report. And this teacher data is used by a lot of federal and state reporting, including school report card. There was some training, spring user groups. It was recorded. It is available in ICU. There is new Mastering Campus online option. Talk to Lisa Roten if there's interest. And we do continue to keep the KSIS training page up to date. So watch that for new offerings. User account reminders. If you're not going to have, you've got teachers that are, or staff that are not coming back, please make sure that you cancel their access to the system. You can generate the active user account and the usage report in Infinite Campus to make sure you review and make sure that even as people transfer from one role to another, they still have the access they need. All right, I'm out of time. I didn't think I'd have room for questions, but I am going to turn it back to Becky to move on to the next presenter.